Welcome to KimTalks Resilience, where we share stories of insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. Speaking with authors, entrepreneurs, founders, and coaches to learn their strategies for a more resilient life so we can all build the life we love. I'm your host, Kim Hayden. Well, welcome back. For those of you joining us the first time, welcome. We always have lots of cool things here on the show that you can learn and engage with, or find the leadership, mentorship, or maybe it's just somebody that you go, I know how that is. I get that. It's, as you guys can see, this is my actual home office, and I really believe in surrounding yourself with the things that bring you joy. Creating a space that you feel comfortable and confident in is really important. So when the days do hit you where your energy is a little low, or you've had something really bad happen in your life, your space and the people around you help lift you up. This is part of why I wanted this guest to be here on the show today. Sarah Kirkpatrick is part of our local Calgary fabric when it comes to creating space and looking at what's bringing you joy. And she's always been in, the different women's networking groups, the different business, like she has always been present. And I think that's the really cool thing is Sarah is present. And she's done a really cool pivot over the last half decade that, we've all had the opportunities to make pivots and truly find the passions. But Sarah's been able to put the other P in that a lot of women struggle to do, which is profit, right? So we're going to be talking a lot about not only what Sarah does, but how she's gotten to build such an amazing, successful story second time around. Like she's already done it once. She's doing it again, and she's here to share a story. Sarah Kirkpatrick is the owner and principal designer of Unshelved Design and Boutique, an interior design and home staging firm with a brick and mortar secondhand store in Calgary. Sarah is an interior decorator specializing in cosmetic redesigns that spark joy and hug you from the moment you walk into your space. After her losing her mom in her 20s, experiencing burnout, and closing down her successful six-figure marketing company at the height of its success, Sarah shifted her focus to follow her own advice, discover what brings you joy, and find a way to make money in it. I think that should be on a t-shirt. And she has done it. She has done it. And Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much.
And that's your real background too, isn't it?
It is my real background, yeah.
No hair halo. No. I always love it when I see gorgeous backgrounds. I interviewed a gentleman out of Minnesota he's got a whole program where he builds apartment complexes, apartment buildings, like up to 7 stories. And he has this new studio that he built just for the purpose of doing podcasts and education pieces. And it's got the best background. It's like, I just love it when people have beautiful spaces. So before we dive into what you do, because everybody wants to see the shiny objects. Everybody wants to know how to make the magic happen. I want to dig in a little bit as to who is Sarah. We got a little bit of that in the bio, but I'd like to have you share just a bit more with us.
Sure. I mean, my background is actually in creative advertising. So I went to school 6 years, got a creative advertising degree and marketing management diploma, and really dove headfirst into the advertising world in Toronto before moving back to Calgary when my mom got sick, and worked in agencies, and then started my own company, which you mentioned in the bio. Jumping Elephant was the name of it, and we did mostly social media and helping small business owners with that. And then, as you said, I lost my mom, and I kind of really shifted perspective for me on what what brought me joy. I was really struggling for a while with trying to be happy and find the reason and the purpose. And my mom was an entrepreneur and she was my best friend. And so when I lost that, I really had a hard time coping with anything else. So I really just dove into business. And yeah, and I guess we can get into where that took me. But yeah, that's sort of it. Kind of an entrepreneur and losing a parent together really defines me, I guess.
And I want to put this out there because this is something that kind of was aha for me. I met Sarah kind of on the peripheral through several different organizations and spaces that I've been in. And I had no clue because we all get stuck in our own silo of working and that kind of rat race. I had no clue as to the absolute life-altering trauma and challenge that you were going through because you were still showing up in a professional level. And I just want to, I want people to stop and ponder that today when you are encountering somebody, just give them grace.
Mm-hmm.
Give them grace because I don't know if I've always been the most graceful person around people. And yet I think back to different encounters and engagements, and you always showed up as a professional, and and you know, I just want to put that out there because that is something I've engaged with Sarah for over a decade, and so I know that at some point in time we have probably connected, and it was a rough day. And yet I would have never seen that. So first of all, I want to say you did an amazing job just showing up and being present. And that's, I think, what I really like about you is you are present. You're kind of an omnipresent individual. But also for those who are listening today, just give everybody grace around you. You don't know what's going on in their life. So let's dive into what you do after that deep moments. I'm not usually a deep person. Really did strike me, Sarah. That really did. That was an aha moment for me when I was reading through your bio. It's like, huh, I had no clue. I had
Yeah.
no clue. So let's dive into what you do and how you're shifting things not only for yourself but for others.
Yeah, so I mean, now I do interior design. I'm kind of your cliche COVID pivot person. Definitely found that again, like I said, I wasn't finding joy in what I was doing. And I ended up flipping my husband's rental property to sell it. And I had originally flipped my first house. And I just thought, this is way better than doing TikToks for oil and gas companies. You know, I love the creativity, and I was just getting really burnt out at social media just as a whole. And I decided that I wanted to find joy in my space a little bit more. So as I started working to create offices and my bedroom and really build up my home, and finding that joy and feeling that hug when I walk in after a hard day, I thought, geez, I hope other people can feel this kind of joy when they walk into their homes. And that was sort of my aha moment was, you know, if I can create an office that makes me feel like this and makes me feel this productive and this successful and really kind of combat the imposter syndrome a little bit, I would love to impart that on other people as well. I feel like it's just a missing piece that people don't think about very often. So,
And staging. So let's unpack this a little bit. Staging not only applies to the flipping of a property, folks. It also applies to if you're going to have to repurpose a space to carry out something. So if you have to take over the dining room to launch a new business, how are you staging your space for success? Let's talk high, medium, low. And you have a really good presentation on colors and what do they mean and what do they present. So let's look at that because we still have this this stampede almost of people who are leaving corporate spaces to start their own business, and they could be starting it from the kitchen table or the dining room table. Let's go through kind of a midway that they could actually modify their space to reflect their pivot so that they actually can have some pride in that.
For sure. So, I mean, dining rooms are tough. They're one of the hardest places. I recommend, if you can, trying to clean out even a closet and stick your desk in the closet and putting an armoire somewhere that has your clothes, because it just creates a little space. Whereas the dining room is so public, and it's you're always cleaning it up, especially when you have kids. So I would recommend trying to find really anywhere that's a little bit more private. But if, of course, you just don't have that space in a dining room, is that we kind of started with it, right? Is having a really nice background for yourself or for people on video. And so having some sort of feature wall behind you, changing out your lighting, so that even if you're on camera a lot, you're seeing that in your reflection. And when you're doing podcasts like this, you're going to feel like you're more professional. You're going to feel like you're actually taking steps towards that career. If you're not on camera a lot, I recommend flipping and looking at that yourself, because it doesn't really matter what's behind you then. And I want you to be inspired when you're sitting there working. And so creating, I'm obsessed with wallpaper. I'll put wallpaper in someone's house any option I can.
The first thing I did when I moved into my office space here out of my studio is I wallpapered, but I like the bricks. I love the depth you get with wallpaper. You get a depth, right? Mm-hmm. Keep going. Yep. Sorry, I'm totally with you on the wallpaper.
Oh, I'm on the wallpaper train. And wallpaper is awesome because you can really choose your brand on that, and it's something that can inspire you, whether you just want to see something fun like a bunch of cats playing with yarn. It's something I just put in a client's bathroom. Or if you want something a little more subdued, or maybe just a grass cloth that's a beautiful texture that has a nice piece of art over top of it, you can really play into whatever that wallpaper is, or some sort of paneling. But the point is that when you're sitting there working and you look up from your desk and you're frustrated and you're having a tough day and you're having imposter syndrome and you just don't know where the money's going to go or come from, you get to look up and you get to be re-inspired by the space around you. The space is what nurtures you and hugs you. I have a lot of photos of my mom in my other office, my creative studio, because she was an entrepreneur and she really inspires me. And so when I walk into that room, I truly feel like I'm there with her. And so obviously that's a deeper thing, but you walk into a space and you should feel like, I'm here to work. I'm excited. This place is here to support me in that work. And then I do hope that you carry that through into your life outside of your office. This space is to support me in my relaxation. This is to support me in the health of my family and myself, and building those rooms around your house that support you in some way in different aspects is my path to success.
And that's knowing your why. And if you can visualize, that's why vision boards are so popular. I mean, Jack Canfield has made an entire, vertical in his business on leveraging the proper vision board. Tony Robbins talks it. So your space actually can be your vision board. It can be that constant reminder. So when you have that crappy call, or you wake up and find out your phone doesn't work anymore, and you're going to have to do 3 hours at the Apple store, your space reminds you, and it can change and shift with you. What's your favorite cheat? What's your favorite low cost, for any space, that if you just do this one thing, or if you just use this one product, you can overhaul or create a space?
So for offices specifically, it's truly just the position of your desk. If you have the ability, I like to float the desk in the middle of the room. So when you're sitting at it, you're facing the door. The reason for that is called the command position. So when you walk into the room and you see that, you see a CEO, you see that position. And when you're sitting there, you have a good visual of everything around you, and you're sitting around, you can have more beautiful things around you rather than sitting up against a wall and looking at just a wall and having everything behind you. So honestly, it can just be as simple as a floor plan shift, having an area rug ground you. And then the little fun tip and trick for that is when you have an area rug, you cut a little X hole in it at the bottom of your foot of your desk, and then you can run your cords down under the rug to the outlet, so you don't have to trip over cords and everything from your computers. So,
and they're not pretty when you walk in. Cords are not pretty.
no,
I mean,
they're
I'm
not.
just, yeah, and I've tried lots of different cord systems, and just, yeah, they're just not pretty. You would be very proud of me then, because I'm in one of the spare bedrooms, and my desk is floating right in the very center. And I have, just so everybody knows, because I talk to so many people every day, I have and I found that I was collecting too many sticky notes and I was losing track of what I was saying where. I have a glass top desk and
Mm.
everything. So when people see me look down, I'm actually writing. And so this has become my system of when I take a picture of it and I drop the picture into a folder, or I'll put the content on a document or in a spreadsheet. But it's I have to deal with it immediately. Otherwise, it gets wiped off by my sleeve, right? So it's for me, being very ADHD, and I move very fast, but I'm very slow to organize. It's just one of my cheats, and just, cheat sheet
That's
for a glass top desk is, if you have a great desk that you love, but you do want to put glass on top, you can go to any of the auto shops and they will cut you a piece of glass and bevel the edges. So that's a cheat right there for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk Unshelf. First of all, why the name? What is Unshelf?
I mean, so I actually was going to, when I was in my marketing business, me and another lady were going to start a marketing conference, and we were going to call it Unshelf, like unshelf your business's potential, take it down off the shelf. And we never ended up going there because I ended up changing career paths. But I just love the name and the idea of, a lot of people say, well, we'll just shelve that for later. And that can a lot of time be your home. Oh, that'll be a later thing, we'll work towards that. I want people to take it off, to unshelf that potential for their home. And so that's sort of where that came from. And also shelf styling, it's very design focused.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So with interior design, you have a local store here, but can you do services online, consultations online? What is the structure of your new business?
So yeah, I mean, mostly we work locally, but I do virtual consultations and design boards. So if you're not in Calgary, there's a couple ways that I can help. The consultation can be a virtual. Obviously, you're just going to have to walk me around your house on your phone. But then we put together design boards for your space, which have clickable links that you can shop and shop for yourself. There's designers out there that get flown around by their clients, and maybe I'll be that person one day to
Never know. You never know.
property. Yeah. But for now, the virtual conference or the virtual consults and the design boards, we put together, we pick your paint colors and put furniture and links to everything. And so you can really implement it yourself. Locally, we can do, full scale design and help with the purchasing and project management, construction, and all the way to the last candle on the coffee table. So yeah, there's a lot of different services, and it really just depends how involved you want to be. People say their budget, but also, how much do you love design? Do you want to be the one that's shopping for everything, and you just kind of need a general idea of what the look will be? Then we can help you there. So
yeah,
there's a good range of stuff depending on what your goals are for your space.
If I had to pick, okay, so we had a decade of beige, we had a decade of grayish, we've had, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's always these blocks of time. If I were to want to upcycle, let's say, shelves or picture frames or anything like that, right? Because basically a picture frame is a picture frame. It's just the color is what kind of dates itself, right? So if you have this old beige, wood picture frames, right? What would be like the color today? What are like some different accent colors or pieces that if you wanted to bring some of those older pieces forward, what would be colors that are good, and what do they mean in your space?
So The big thing right now is pottery. So I'm sure you've seen we're doing actually a workshop in June for upcycling decor. And this is one of the things we're going to show people how to
Oh,
do.
awesome.
Yeah, taking an old vase or picture frame if you're more skilled at detail work, which I'm not, but making it look like stone, making it look like something old. And I think the reason for that is people are getting back to their roots. You know, a lot of the interior design right now is very earthy. We're getting out of the grays because it was just too cold, especially when we were all in our homes, and we're getting back into those warm colors. But it's actually getting less the traditional beige that you're thinking of and more kind of stone colored grays, I guess. So there's a really easy like plaster that you can do on vases to make it look like it's true authentic pottery, at least from a distance. And so a lot of people, you can do that on any hard surface, really, the vases, the candlesticks, the picture frames, and bringing in those earthy tones that will make you feel more grounded, because I think we're all a little woo right now. So
absolutely. And one of the benefits, there's so many benefits to upcycling, so many benefits. There's the cost benefit, and the fact that it's better for our earth if we're putting less stuff in the landfills. It's also great just exercise, like you're doing this. Talk about a little bit about this class you're doing. So this is actually a workshop that you're doing?
So every month we do a little mini workshop, 45 minutes at 6 o'clock one day of the month. And it's usually related to something happening that month. So last week we just do a Mother's Day tea tray styling. So everyone came in and designed their own little tea trays to show like how you could give appreciation to your mom. June is actually a very big month for upcycling and sustainability. And so we're doing one where we're going to show people how to upcycle. At Unshelved Boutique, we don't do any upcycling for people. We consign modern trendy wares and then resell them as is. But I know that a lot of people are thrifting and finding pieces that are outdated or have their own that maybe we won't take because they're too outdated, and they can update them themselves. So I'm not a crafty person. So if you're watching this and being like, I can't do crafts, don't worry, neither can I. And this is one that I can do.
Oh, and crafts, the rule with crafts, they're always funner with friends, just let you know.
Yeah,
crafts
for
are
sure.
always funner with friends. So I love that you're tackling that. What's your favorite color that's coming out this year that you've seen in 2023 that you're seeing pop up? So we have the stones, so that's a grounding. What's the counterpoint or the opposite end of the screen? Is there a color that you've seen come back that you go, wow, I didn't expect that? Or like, what's out there?
Yeah, definitely the unexpected, but I love is the like burgundies, often in velvet. There's a lot of velvet coming back.
Yeah.
I'm not a mid-century person. It's just not my style, but there are a lot of oranges and reds coming in. I tend to lean more towards the emerald greens and the deep blues, more cooler tones.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely the hot thing right now is the 70s.
The 70s. And I think that was actually started by, here in Canada, we have a store called Superstore. And I don't know if you saw midway through COVID, Superstore actually had velvet corduroy styled leisure suits. And seriously, folks, the one thing that never should come back is the leisure suit. It was not attractive the first time around. It was not attractive for our grandparents, and it's not attractive for us today. And you know what? If you got a problem with that, just email me. I'll tell you where you can go get your leisure suit. But it is interesting because we're seeing a lot of that, that fabric. But that goes back into what you were talking about, the wallpaper. It's creating those layers of texture and depth.
Yes.
What's the one common mistake you see people make that, you just have to make a few shifts and you can eliminate it?
So layering is a really big part of design. And I think that people mistake that for stuff. So I often go into people's, they're like, oh, my bookshelf, I've tried to style it and it's just not working. And they just have stuff kind of just like in lines, in rows, and all their little knickknacks and trinkets. And layering is actually less stuff that's larger with more texture. So instead of putting more, you have to put bigger or more textural. So having one vase on a stack of books can fill a whole shelf. You don't have to put lots of individual items, and then that spreads to the room. You don't need to have 100 things on your coffee table. Just have a tray and a candle, and add layers of drapes to fill up the space to make it feel less echoey and a little softer. 2 pillows on the couch with a blanket, or having a basket with rolled up blankets beside it. You're just adding larger things that are soft textures or different textures, you know, a wicker basket with a wool inside, you know, that creates a vibe, obviously, maybe more fall and winter, but it's really about layering in a way that doesn't feel like clutter. And because clutter is overwhelming, obviously. So we want to do it in a more sophisticated, clean way. And you'll still feel like the room is full, and it's welcoming, and it hugs you.
I have found throughout the years, so with my real estate background, I've sold a lot of homes, like over 1,500. And I have found that larger pieces tend to have more of a statement factor or a feeling of uh, wealth, right? So then versus the smaller. So, and I've really looked at this. Like if you go to a Walmart, for example, all of their decor pieces are quite small.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go to, you know, HomeSense or Bed Bath and Beyond, or, you know, a more elegant, like a
Restoration
Pottery
hardware.
Barn or one of those, as you go up, they go up in size.
Yeah.
What are some cost-effective ways that people can find those larger pieces or give a piece a larger feel?
Yeah, I mean, I love thrifting too. So you can often find very large vases or sculptures that are just outdated, and you can spray paint them if you are a DIYer. And then bringing, like, I just picked up some beautiful, huge apothecary jars that are like an orange stone, and I'm going to spray them black. And I think that'll be like a really beautiful focal piece on a fireplace. But HomeSense does have decent decor if you can catch it. Obviously, it's not going to last as long as something like Pottery Barn or Restoration Hardware. But for smaller budgets, I think just at least going for larger scale will show that that wealthy vibe that you're going for before you can actually afford the $3,000 coffee table tray, or you know, whatever it is you're going. Maybe not 3,000, but quite expensive.
Yeah. Some of those are expensive. I'm like going, have you seen? There's a YouTube channel of a guy who goes into like Salvation Army's thrift stores, and he finds like coffee tables that are like, you know, Ethan Allen. Like these are very good quality solid wood, but they're banged all to crap. And he actually shows you how to strip it all down and restain it. And like he buys these pieces for $20 and he turns around and resells them for like $300. And it's just crazy. I wish I was that thrifty. I have a girlfriend that's now doing that with all mid-century pieces, and she's quit her day job, and she's just doing, she's like you, she's doing what she's loving now. Versus
it's a special person that can do I do not upcycle. It's just not my thing. I like to thrift and find something that's good. But if you're not a thrifter, you know, my rule of thumb for decor especially is if it's bigger than a grapefruit, it'll work. If you get all the little tchotchkes, those are really what's going to create clutter. If you can get it as big as a watermelon and you can afford it, then that is really where you hit the sweet spot for large pieces of decor that you can do less of. And even though that one thing may seem expensive, instead of that, you would be buying 5 little things that may amount to close to the same price. So just hold out for what you're something that draws your attention rather than trying to fill the void, which is where antiques and everything come in. I always say you should never be the oldest thing in a room. It's not my quote. I heard it from someone.
That's good. That's good, Sarah. I'm now looking at my room, wondering, I think I maybe am the oldest thing in my
So
room.
you need to go antiquing or nantiquing, what we call it in Calgary, if you had to Nantin, but find something that has soul, that has character, because the pieces that have stories that aren't just IKEA and Home Sense, those are conversation pieces, and they do hold a bigger presence than something that's new, even if they're a little bit smaller. So I think it really depends on your vibe. I personally love very modern, not the cold modern. I actually am like a French provincial kind of vibe, but when I have to do modern spaces, I try to bring in a couple pieces of antique. Otherwise, I feel that they just fall flat. So yeah.
If you have a place that has, like, if you have a lot of pieces that have a story behind them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look behind me, I've got a lot of Wizard of Oz stuff, right? What's a better way to deal with that aside from putting it into the back of the closet, like my daughter suggested?
How big are they?
Well, they're smaller. So I've got a couple weird things. Okay, I've got the ruby red shoe.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby red shoe, and that's a picture frame from when we got married 29 years ago. We got married in Las Vegas. I have, what else do I have in here? I just have fun things. People have given me all sorts of like little books around Wizard of Oz. And just so you know, I come by it honestly. I'm from Wichita, Kansas, the land of Oz, right? And then I've got the potato heads, which are still in the boxes because the Dorothy and the Tin Men, my husband and I, that we actually have a picture from when we got married at the MGM in Las Vegas, me holding Dorothy's basket, my husband with the Tin Men axe. So, but they're also collectible. I don't know who's collecting potato heads, but so I guess I could actually change up I just shoved stuff in. I'm the worst. I just shoved it in there because I don't want to get rid of it. But how do you, if you have memento pieces, like where should they be? How do you deal with these? Like I said, a lot of times it is a lot of series of smaller things, right? How do you deal with that?
So if they're really small, well, let's start with kind of something like the size of a shoe, like you have it in those cube shelves. If you just have those as shadow boxes themselves and not put multiple things within each one, you have it. I saw there was another guy that owned a marketing agency, and I was always blown away by his office because he had a whole wall of cubes, like floor to ceiling. All it was cubes, and each cube had one special thing in it from wherever he was in his past. And then you're creating moments for those as opposed to just becoming more clutter. So if there are things that really mean a lot to you, I mean, the potato heads can have their own cube and the ruby can have its own cube, and you have a stack of books in another one. And it'll take a little bit of time to make it look like a cohesive, beautiful space, but it's not going to look like tchotchkes then because they all are their own showcases. If they're really little stuff, they're harder to deal with for sure. In a bookshelf, when you have a stack of books, you can put smaller things, stacked up on different layers, and that helps you utilize them and have them included with larger items so they can be the smaller sculpture of a 3-tiered vignette. But yeah, it's when you get that little stuff, again, when you're traveling, try to look for bigger things if you can. I know they're harder to carry home, but really, I mean, I just donated like 10 tiny little elephants because people would always get me elephants because of my company, Jumping Elephant. And I was like, I just had them like on a bookshelf, and I just had them lined up on a bookshelf. And I was like, so I got rid of them, and I found a beautiful stone because I love stone elephant. And it now sits alone on that bookshelf, and it represents elephants to me. I'm also not a very I know people hold on to stuff a lot more, and I understand it's taken me years to get rid of some of my mom's things. But I hear a lot of people say, oh, my mother-in-law got me that, so we have to keep it, and I hate it. or they'll pull it out when she's here. And I think that there's a respectful way to not keep it and say, you know what, it was so lovely, we loved it, and I just didn't want it to fall behind in all the other things that we have. So I've gifted it to someone else who really loves it. And so when you do pass that stuff on, you know, you can tell the story to your in-laws or to yourself if you need it, that someone else is going to love that piece. And I think, and I got that from my mom. She was definitely a get rid of kind of person. She didn't hold on to a lot, and that helped me, obviously. But it was always the idea that if I don't love it, it's getting wasted. That energy, that joy that that piece could bring is just now a negative in your home, and someone else will love it and let it go. And you'll get rid of a lot that way.
and letting go and kind of reappropriating spaces is it is hard. I literally just went through my entire wardrobe from the TV show I did back in 2015 to 2017. And the reality is I'm not going to wear any of that again. I'm not using any of those props again. And yet I know so many people would want them, right?
Yeah.
So get it out. It creates more space for you to get creative in. Real quick, before we dive into your story of resilience, what is a color that we maybe should stay away from right now? Like a color that maybe isn't good for the psyche. A lot of people we have a lot of like mental health challenges. There's a lot of things going on out there. What's a color we maybe shouldn't be leaning into?
So it really depends on kind of what your goals are for your space. A lot of people may disagree with me here. I don't like oranges and yellows just personally, but they are also very high energy colors. So if you have them throughout your home, you're going to have a harder time relaxing in those spaces. There's various colors of like in the hue of orange and yellow where they have more relaxing tones than the bright pylons. But in general, you have to decide what room you want to have which purpose, and then you can lean into that. And, you know, if you're in your office and you put a subtle blue, know that you're probably going to be a little bit less energetic in there. And if it's your job to be a podcaster, you know, that's probably not a color that's going to invigorate you and boost your psyche while you're in
maybe throw a hot pink pillow in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it really just depends on the goal of that room. But yeah, they all have different personalities.
So let's talk story of resilience. You have had over the last decade a lot of moments that resiliency has probably been the only thing moving you forward. Would you share a time that, you know, a story of resilience that without that moment of resiliency, you wouldn't be having this conversation today?
Certainly. So it was actually the moment I decided to stop marketing and work on design instead. And my coping mechanism is working. So when mom passed away, I just dove right in, and that's how my company got to 6 figures so quickly. And I got an email one morning from a large cannabis company that said, you know, we have $20,000 per month to spend on marketing. We'd like you to manage it. It's all organic, so that's pretty much all just hours, not any paid ads. And inside, I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I just immediately knew that I didn't want that project and I didn't want to do marketing anymore. And I decided in that moment to find joy. I told my husband that night, you know what, I just turned down a $20,000 a month job and I'm going to close my company down and start something new. And he looked white. He was like, all the color drained from his face. But I think that everything leading up to that point of me not feeling happy and me really struggling with the whole social media facade and always looking bright and cheery, and when I was struggling with the loss of my mom, it really just had shifted me to a point where I could say no to a project like that and instead strive for something that was going to make me happy. And so I don't know if it's like a moment of resiliency so much as a buildup of it, and with that, using that to make the right choice. And now my company now is 5 times more successful than my previous one was in only 2 years, what I accomplished in 10 at the marketing company. So it's hard, but you just have to trust your gut on what's going to bring you joy, because then you'll be more dedicated to it.
I 110%. I totally agree with you. And you're not the first person that has said that they've walked away from a sizable revenue
Mm-hmm.
to find their joy. And those those people like yourself are the ones that truly can lead that inspiration for others, right? Is it scary? It's
It's really scary.
scary. Uh, it's scary, and you deal with a lot of backlash from people around. You go, what? Right? Why? Right? And the reality is nobody lives inside your head. Nobody lives inside your soul but you. So do what feeds your soul. Talking about feeding souls, what is filling your cup up? What has helped you on your journey of success? Like, talk books to me or podcasts. What are you leaning into?
I do listen to a lot of design podcasts. With my marketing background, I am trying to learn as much as I can into the design world now. But just as an entrepreneur, I just wrote down 2, which I'm sure they've been said multiple times, and I think there's a reason. The E-myth really helped me understand the various hats that I was wearing and why I was weaker in some than the other. And also, I've just almost finished Rocket Fuel, and recognize myself as a visionary, currently looking for my integrator and like just understanding. I see it everywhere now. I see it when I see businesses, and I see the owner and I see the manager, and they're both come to the meetings, and you can just see how they work so well together and complement each other. And I know that that's what I need. And I think it's really, they're popular books for a reason, to understand the role and the many hats of an entrepreneur, and then understand who you are as a visionary or an integrator. I think can definitely change your business. And that's my quest right now, is to find that person.
Oh, so if you're listening in and you want someplace cool to work with a cool woman who's doing awesome things, reach out to Sarah. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm on a quest right now to find locally, because I know how I work best, and that is where I have touch points, and it's
Yeah.
hard to have touch points with somebody who's outside at a distance.
Yeah.
A project coordinator, right? So it's that
Right.
person that can activate things, because I've already done the one half. I just need the activation. So I
Exactly.
get
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. And
Yeah.
and that's hard. But man, when you see it work, it's
Oh,
beautiful. It's
so
beautiful.
cool. Yeah.
So let's talk social medias. Where can people find you, follow you, engage with you?
Yeah, so we have kind of 2, my Unshelf Design and Unshelf Boutique. I've split into 2 companies more or less now. So Instagram, we have both, and Unshelf Design is all of my staging and interior design work and my kind of everyday. And then Unshelf Boutique is the store and the workshops, and also run by my team that work there on the weekends. So mostly we're on Instagram. We do dabble on Facebook a little bit, and I have a Pinterest for my interior design company, but it's mostly just for like tossing photos and inspiration. But if you want to communicate with me, Instagram's really the best place.
And Instagram's a visual platform, so I can absolutely see that. I can
Yeah.
absolutely. All right, guys. Get rid of the little tchotchkes, find some inspiration, making sure you set the stage for success. That means going back and exactly. And these are so important, because if success does not happen, it is created, and you have to create the space around you so you can visualize your success. Sarah, can you close us out with your quote, your mantra, what keeps you moving forward, what you share with others?
What I live by is find what you love, and then find a way to make money doing it.
And God love the millennials, because this is the legacy they will leave the earth with, is that they literally shifted our mindset around, money, around a business, around where we apply our time. And that, being enslaved to something you don't love is not necessarily the right way to go. That's the old guard in with the new. Sarah, I really appreciate you taking time and sharing your story, your journey. Unshelved Design, Unshelved Boutique, guys, do check it out. Sarah has, like she said, in just a couple of years, grown this where you're what, 5 employees now?
I'm 3 plus me. Yeah.
3 plus you, and you're looking to scale up again already. And Sarah is known in the city of Calgary. So if you're out there listening to this and you're looking to create, your own legacy, your own brand, it's totally doable. And do check out what Sarah's doing right now, because the reality is success leaves clues. Every single time there's a story within the success, right? Until next time, guys, don't wait for somebody to come rescue you or shift or do any of those things. Just do it. Just do it. Just, say, I'm done. And here we're going to go. And this is where we're going. So follow Sarah's example. She's definitely success to watch. Until next time, I am going to leave you with my very super awesome closing, and I look forward to connecting next time.
Thank you for joining us here today at KimTalks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I'd love to invite you to our resilient community at resilientgift.com. That's resilientgift.com, and we'll send you our magazine and tickets for upcoming events and all sorts of cool things we do here. So be sure to keep watching, and you know what? Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, because we all know that sharing is caring.